This podcast is brought to you by Mapper Forward's new Patreon community, the Global Coffee Think Tank. Check the show notes or head to patreon.com/Mapper Forward to find out how you can become a member today. Welcome back to our final episode of our 5-part series with Ahmad Aleidan from Bayan Tea on specialty tea. And in this episode, coming off the back of our last episode where we spoke about the geopolitical impact on the tea supply chain, today we're going to talk a little bit about climate change and see how climate change together with geopolitics has come together to impact the economics of the future of tea as we move into such an interesting inflationary environment and a recession that's coming up. You know, as you mentioned, Ahmed, in a previous episode in this series, tea is considered to be a staple in households. And so as tea is a staple in households, much like coffee is going to be something that is impacted by supply chain constraints, by climate change, forcing the price of coffee up as yields drop year on year. What is the relationship between climate change and the production of tea? And then maybe we can take a look at how that's impacting the world from an economic perspective.
Well, the global climate change has been impacting tea for quite a long time now. The production of quality tea has always been somehow restricted to the region itself for producing tea. Now, if you go and ask a specific person and call him green tea or white tea, they would consider China. Looking forward to asking the same question from a person of expertise in tea, who would specifically pick up a few geolocations of tea. So if you go and see the market when it comes to matcha tea, you would mostly focus on Japan, specifically Uji, Kyoto. So those regions are well known of producing tea, and most of the world all of the world is experiencing a shifting climate. And since it is not a commodity tea, it's not within a wide range of parameter of acceptance. Droughts, heavy rain, and other elements can affect tremendously the yield that we expect each year. And also because of the behavior and build up on commodity tea of accepting such a range and such a standard, that they assume that specialty tea would attain such or retain such a stability in the market. Different changes in the weather do affect tea. We have to come in as it comes in coffee as well, especially coffee, that you might expect the chain reaction of such a bad say summer or spring or drought to be impacting your crop as faster than expected.
Mm-hmm.
Because whatever you're getting your tea from, you have to have this mindset that we might not have a good green tea this year, as not as good as the last year.
Mm-hmm.
And if we have to introduce as well whatever we're finding from the global crisis that we're having today with Ukraine and Russia, that has impacted significantly the prices of gas itself, which conveyed also has a ripple effect of having the logistics when it comes to shipping items on air freights or on let's say cargo shipments and ships that go through the water channels that we're accustomed to. The container the 20-foot container cost has quadrupled in the last 24 to 36 months,
mm-hmm.
which definitely impacts us. And considering that we need to go on refrigerated, containers sometimes.
Oh,
and
tea has to be shipped in refrigerated containers.
If you want to maintain the qualities of green teas, you need to keep them as cool as possible, because heat can affect the quality of tea.
So for specialty
So
tea, I guess the more specialty it is, the more delicate it's going to be as it travels.
exactly. I focus generally on having it air freight. I
Right.
would do the logistics through the major carriers just to avoid the travel time to gain
Hmm.
as much time as possible. So within a week, I would be having my shipment. It's having an impact on us, yes, for sure. We've just managed to escape things from China with their skin of our teeth, as they say. Some major ports of in China have been has reduced operations to the minimum the last
Lockdowns,
say
etc., etc.
last 120 days, let's say,
Hmm.
not recently. So we just got a notification that they're going gradually back to their normal operations these days. So we're happy about that.
Except
So there are so
Shanghai's about
many
to lock
things.
down again this week.
That's what we. Shanghai is going to lock down, but other places are opening up to
Yeah.
operations. But we definitely gonna leave that to the logistic people.
Hmm.
We just gonna wait, put that weight on them. We expect our airway bills, and we track them down, and just leave some stress for them, leave a little
A
bit
little
stress for
bit.
them.
We're carrying enough, right?
Yes, we're carrying enough. So yes, it's all piling up on the business itself.
Mm.
And the main challenge that we face is not the recession itself. Recession is reflecting on everything we know, and it's impacting the way of life that we and the quality of life that we've chosen on, and it's different between you and I and someone else. But the challenge that we have is the coffee industry, to be honest.
Oh.
Um, Yes. The challenge in tea is when people could perceive tea as a contender in the specialty world.
Mm.
And I personally believe, it's an integrate player to, in this specialty ecosystem.
Mm.
You wake up in the morning, addressing your morning and say, okay, this is a lovely morning. I think I'm gonna have let's say a brioche. I'll be having a sourdough. I'll be having that type of cheese. I'll be having that type of bread. I'll be having that type of coffee as well. In 2012, okay, I do like tea coffee, and I do make my own coffee, and I do brew my own filter coffee, and I enjoy grinding it manually. So it's a process that it's not like if you're a tea person, you're not going to enjoy coffee, I
No.
assume the same thing happens to the people in coffee.
Mm.
But the market perceives it as a head-on contenders, like let me say
We're
Tyson
not
and Holyfield
competitors.
or something, you know. We're not competitors. We're part of an ecosystem. So
Yes.
people who enjoy delicatessens and enjoy bread and enjoy coffee would enjoy tea. So it's a part of the ecosystem. We are growing into a community and an economy of knowing exactly where did this product comes from, and what does it give us in notes, and how
Mm.
are we experiencing it. So when you go to a coffee house, you would expect people would hold the specialty all around, from the point of bakery, sweets, and tarts, and the way they present their croissants, the way they present their coffee. They give attention to the type of water that they serve, in addition to the ethical approaches on whatever they source their coffee from. And you go to that espresso bar or the coffee machines that they have, that they are wonderfully set up, and they come in and then they go in and they sell you a cup of coffee that will cost you a good amount of dollars, which is appreciated because I enjoy a good cup of coffee. And somehow it sounds insulting if you ask for a decent green tea.
Until
And
you've
that
had
would,
one, to be honest. I mean, I have to push back on that a little bit because I'm a tea drinker. I drink more tea than I drink coffee.
that's awesome.
Um, I don't know if that's a cultural thing because they're so heavy in the Arabic culture to drink tea, and less common for us to drink coffee in the Arabic culture. We wouldn't drink coffee at a meal in Middle Eastern cultures, and I was raised in a Middle Eastern household, we drink tea at meals. So it's strange. It was strange for me to have a coffee with breakfast, but it's not strange for me to have a tea with breakfast.
I understand that. I do, and I do that as well. But let me give you like a quick thought here.
Yeah.
Tea is a foreign commodity to Arabs, and coffee is born in the Arabian Peninsula. So
It's so true.
um, we have actually integrated or migrated to tea because of the loss of the empire, the Ottoman Empire.
All right.
Empire, the Ottoman Empire produced tea in 1893-94.
Uh-huh.
Producing, that means they've gone accustomed to it, they've been using it,
Yeah.
they've been drinking it, and now they went through the production side of it. So the growth and development has reached the production in the 1890s, where as coffee's been there forever since they lost since the end of say the end of the Ottoman control over the port of Mocha and the productions that was exported from Yemen and that side of the world handed over
Mm-hmm.
to other parts of the world. They decided to introduce tea into their culture as a substitute. Hence,
Right.
now you can find everywhere related to the Arab community, to the Ottoman extensions, do drink heavily, do drink tea heavily.
Tea.
But yes, in general, but when coming back to the coffee industry, it feels that every person who comes in to try to prove himself, has some sort of investment into the coffee field. So he starts investing in himself, getting his certifications done, getting his education up to par, then go and produces start to create a chain of supply chain for coffee. He goes into to getting those anaerobic and carbonic maceration and all these technologies involved in producing coffee itself, explaining it to the public, goes to the coffee. When you ask for a latte or a cup of espresso or something, he got this fancy Akaya scale and goes to the dot when it comes to getting the grinds in, dials it up, drinks a coffee and have a sip of it, approves, goes out, and when you
I
ask
see where this
when you
is
ask
going.
for tea, he goes to the water spout, discharges fully loaded
Boiling water.
calcium boiling water with all this calcium buildup that it got from
The
from the
espresso
boiler
machine.
itself. Exactly. Drops a tea bag and hands it over to you with zero expectations of having proper
Yeah.
extraction under or over, or just overshooting the temperature and everything else, and leave everything to you as a consumer. And to me, as a tea drinker, I would definitely go to a coffee house and have some coffee, or maybe have some tea with my friend. But financially, if you, as a coffee owner, don't address the tea business as much as you would like to address it properly from a book holder, from bookkeeping,
Mm-hmm.
I think you're losing a huge opportunity here. Okay, you can get a tea bag that's worth cents, and you're marking it up to $1.50 or $2 or maybe $4. I'm not sure how much is it going to be in the cafes in Australia, but in the world in Kuwait, we're coming into a place that you can get a V60 for 2 KD, two Kuwaiti dinars, which is about $6 and a half
Mm-hmm.
maybe. Then you say, I'd like to have a tea, and he dunks in the tea bag. He just bought it from the store next door and says, here you go. And it's a 1.5 KD, which is about $4.50. The whole box is about 1.2 KD.
Yeah.
So and when it and whatever education that you've a knowledge that you have under your belt through the world of coffee, at one point you'll be addressing tea in your education. There is no person who
Mm-hmm.
went through quality Q grading the sensory certificate without going through tea. Yet they think they need to reinvent the wheel when it comes to addressing tea, which is a very simple thing. As much as you know that you have a non-pasteurized butter and whatever guilt-free products you have in your products and in your shelves and units, you also have to address the same thing in tea as well. So you have to go through the process of educating the customer as much as you educate them with coffee.
Mm.
You have to educate. You have to properly prepare your cup of tea, not giving the customer the attention of the tea itself. We have places in the region that have the name of tea stapled, and they have the strength of saying we are the name of tea. We represent tea in its up in its glory, and they hand you up a pot and they have the teas in the strainer and just say leave it to the customer to brew it. And to me, that's an insult to the commodity itself. There's no place that
And the
I
customer.
provided. Exactly. I do have this thing that say this. I do supply tea and do also do menu developments and say if you would like to have tea as part of your menu in your own parameters in your own standards, you have to go through that channel, albeit that will be an excellent experience to the customer. It will be a learning curve for your staff, but you end up with having tea so in a specific way. That's why we have in that's why we have in other place that I've worked with, that you as a customer do not have to pay any attention to the cup itself. You have to enjoy it
That's
only.
my
You
job as
have
the
to come
barista.
in and exactly. You come in, you choose your tea, and we brew it under the standards and the profile that we see suitable based on the tea profile that is acceptable by the people who own the place itself, the establishment. So you go to that, you order a cup of coffee, you get your server, and you order your tea, you also get your server, and we do it in a fashion, in a way, in a timeline that will take you as fast as getting a filtered coffee brewed. You'll get a tea that's brewed in the same fashion, in the same timeline. So you pick up your ticket, you start brewing your tea, and you, or let's say steep your tea, and you end up within 2.5 minutes. You'll have an excellent cup of tea, and you would enjoy it. We don't have to wait for it to over steep. You won't want to have to uh, you step away from your conversation or the person next to you just to make sure that your tea is steeped in the right fashion, or maybe oversteeped because you were having an argument or just have to go somewhere. So it's not your responsibility. Your responsibility there to sit down, enjoy the atmosphere, enjoy your cup, and go home. And you will still have the same cup again the moment you come back again and ask
Mm.
for it. So that's the investment that's missing. And I think it's not because it's not there, it's because the lack of understanding that or the will of investing again and getting people to get themselves involved to tea. And I promise you that if you come in, we walk in pairs. Nobody comes into a coffee walking by himself. So it's either you and your friends, your family, whatever. You have a business partner, so you come to the place. I don't want to sit down and not have coffee because I don't want coffee. I just want to have tea. So I'll be sit down and I'll have whatever tea that you have to offer. But you would lose an opportunity of having somebody coming in and coming just for a specific product that you have, and you also can have a financial reflection at the end.
Yeah, and look, your job as a barista is to provide the customer with the best quality beverage that they're seeking. And as your job as a cafe owner is to understand the variety of products that fit the values that you're trying to meet and the problems that you're trying to solve for your customers. And so don't overlook specialty tea. I remember going back to the days when I was a barista. If I was working at a cafe and they would go to the trouble of buying specialty teas but didn't have a temperature controlled kettle, I would buy with my own money a temperature controlled kettle so that I could brew the green, the black, and the white teas all at different temperatures myself. Because it's my
Yeah,
job as
that's
a
a huge
barista.
step. Exactly. At the end, and at where we stand today, from the wave of coffee and how the commodity projects itself to the community today, it's not about the outlet itself. It's about between the customer and the barista himself. There
Yeah.
are so many occasions that I open up the door at a coffee house. If I don't want my barista behind the bar, I won't enjoy my cup
Mm.
unless this person and this gentleman, this lady is behind the bar, because they know how to give me, how to deliver the cup that I will enjoy from. So that investment that comes from you, that has to be in the mindset of the management itself. Again, there are so many people who runs establishments who are not as educated in the commodity, which is that not a
Mm.
mistake. That's not a wrong thing. It's a business opportunity, and you have the financials to it, and you can create that. The economy needs these people, and sometimes these people can read the market more than stuff. It's sometimes that we find that people are overwhelmed, just trying to fit the bill and pay the bills at the end of the month. They look at tea as another investment that they will not get their money back from. And that's why the customer is happy. I don't need to educate them more. So imagine that the same concept was there when people started opening up cafes and serving coffee from the shelf instant coffees that you can get from anywhere else. And they wonder why their businesses did not survive any small bump in in the road
Right.
that they in their future.
Right.
It's that you have to build up a menu, you have to build up a product, you have to develop a culture and a community, and to have also the same time the qualities and deliverables as well. So you have to figure out a way to accommodate everybody that walks in, and also to be in par to serve everything within the same, say, ethical codes that you have. So making sure that good coffee and good tea served in the same place. I don't mind a place that does not serve tea at all. I don't mind a place that does not serve coffee at all. It's not about the place itself. It's about the environment, the ambience, and the theme that you present, the enjoyment. So
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to tea, I see is people, the problem that we're facing when it comes to specialty tea is people are not willing to get themselves re-educated with the community, to the subject, and consider the steeping processes, because of the knowledge that they have is whatever we have from English standard tea, that tea has to steep for 4 to 5 minutes, and that's considered to be bad to business, where everybody who done business with me ends up with a cup of tea that's delivered within 2.5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So that you're doing the same time it will take you to do an espresso or a latte or even a filter coffee, and that would help you to consider tea as we say, as like good to business when it comes to timelines.
Now, as we wrap up this series, I wanted to ask you, do you have on social media and on your website, do you talk about these kinds of approaches to different kinds of teas and what Bayan Tea does?
Yes, what we do is, unfortunately, I haven't been doing that as much as I could, or I wish I like. We have mybayantea.com, so it's our website, where
Mm-hmm.
there are some explanations to the tea itself in more detail. And we do have our Instagram account. It's Bayan Tea, where we focus mainly on talking about tea, showcasing tea. And we do have our a podcast that also focuses on tea itself, but unfortunately, it's not bilingual. It's not bilingual. It's mostly Arabic.
Mm-hmm.
As I said, that Bayan Tea initially was built up to educate and build bridges between the Middle East and Far East Asia, where the majority is bilingual. However, I felt it's right for me to provide content in Arabic since it's a scarce. It's very hard to find any
Mm.
content in Arabic related to tea. So I'm taking that responsibility and crossing over tea as much as possible in the Arabic language. And I am hopeful that the efforts will
Pay
reflect
dividends.
the same. Inshallah, pay
Inshallah.
dividends. Inshallah.
Inshallah. Um, I really appreciate your time, and I really hope that we'll get a chance to have another conversation about tea on this podcast, because
Looking forward to it.
I just think that there is so much still to explore in that area as people look for different experiences, and there are I feel that the cafe is going online, and so there are so many opportunities for small business owners to be able to not just take the coffee part of their business online, but perhaps the tea part of their business online. So let's hope one day soon we can have another chat on the podcast again.
Hopefully.
Thank you so much
Look
for your
forward
time,
to it.
Ahmed. And thank you, everybody.
Thank you for
Links.
having me.
You're welcome, sir. And links to Ahmed's business, as well as social media links will be in the show notes below, so make sure to check them out and connect with Ahmed. Okay? Peace, love, and peanut butter, everybody. Have an amazing rest of your day. Thanks, friends. If you enjoyed this video, here's what you should check out next. Consider supporting Map It Forward on Patreon and be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell before you leave.